take our heroes, give us weaponized clones. The revolution won't be televised. I can't be replicated. Copy the attitude and the chains, but no one will ever do me the same. I can't be replicated. Try to control me, then guess again. Rebellion lives in my DNA. I can't be replicated. Duplicated, imitated, fabricated, eliminated. No, I can't be replicated. The system designed me to be a slave. I'm the glitch in the matrix that can't escape. I can't be replicated. Executions have been televised. Oh.
You prepared to suffer the consequences that society may deem you need to suffer because of your views?
You're goddamn right.
You prepared to suffer the consequences?
Welcome back to the Big Nick Show. We have a great show for you today. Just a couple announcements before we start. Quick announcement. I will be posting a video Monday and Tuesday, but then the rest of next week I'm going to be taking a break, Holy Week, you know. So we're not going to be back. So we're going to be posting Monday and Tuesday. Take a break tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday. So 29th and 30th there'll be videos. And then there will be no more videos until April 5th. So after the Monday, it will be Easter Monday. So just a little announcement. Don't expect videos. You can still watch my previous videos, and you can find them on this channel. You can find them on my main channel, which is linked in the description below, and you can find them on my Rumble. Also, I have for those who don't know, I have an exclusive series, you could say, on my Rumble about Joe the SJW. And if you guys want to follow Joe the SJW, you can follow him on Instagram at Joe the SJW, or just Joe. And I have a link in the description below. You can follow him there. And I also have all the Joe the SJW videos linked in the description below as well. I believe it's only 3. I'm looking at coming out with another one in the next couple weeks. So if you want to help support me, like I said, subscribe to this. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, but make sure it counts it though, because last week, pretty strange thing happened where views actually got taken away after the live stream. During the live stream, I believe I had like 4 or 5 viewers. It's usually not a whole lot during the live stream, but I had like 4 or 5 viewers during the live stream. And then afterwards, like 5 minutes later or so, I get back on my channel and there's only 2 views. It's strange because I don't think you can unview something. So if you want to help support my channel, make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button, but make sure you refresh the page and make sure it goes through and YouTube doesn't take it away. Also, you can support my main channel, which is linked in the description below. The Big Nick Show will be returning, I believe it's April 27th. Let me check that calendar real quick. Maybe April 24th, I think, is when the Big Nick Show will be returning to the main channel. And you can check my Rumble, which is also linked in the description below. Exclusive videos there, as well as the Joe the SJW series, which is also be found on my Rumble. I'll be coming out with a new video in the next couple days, hopefully before the break, most likely before the break. New video coming out. Then just make sure you help support my channel if you really like my content. Also, you can find me on social media, which is linked in the description below. Also, it's your daily reminder that you're being controlled by the government. The CDC is issuing COVID-19 vaccination record cards, which I didn't actually think they were they were doing it now. Like, they had talked about it earlier on in the pandemic, but they, whenever you said it, they're like, "Oh no, they're just not going to do it." They're controlling you this way. I mean, if you don't think you're being controlled, look at this. I mean, as far as I know, they don't give you vaccine cards. You need to show a record of vaccination to do stuff like board an airplane or whatnot, but they're now making you do it. It's all controlling you. They're forcing you to get the vaccine. Even if you don't want it, they're going to force you to do it, and this is how they're forcing you to do it. So if you don't think you're being controlled, we have it right here. They are issuing COVID-19 vaccine record cards. And also, I believe it's Krispy Kreme donut companies is giving you free donuts if you have a COVID vaccine. So it's a little treat for all the dogs, to throw the dogs a treat. I Anyway, the city of Baltimore will stop prosecuting low-level offenses such as drug possession and prostitution. It says Baltimore will no longer prosecute low-level crimes such as drug possession, prostitution, or minor traffic violations following an experimental year of refusing to prosecute such crimes in order to keep COVID-19 from spreading among the prison population. NBC News reports that the city stopped prosecuting low-level offenses when the coronavirus began to spread in an effort to reduce jail populations and keep the virus from spreading inside prisons. The move was copied by prosecutors in other cities as well, though Baltimore appears to be the only city that implemented this policy and saw crime rates drop. In Baltimore, nearly all categories of crime have since declined, confirming the state's attorney Marilyn Mopsey, what she and criminal justice experts have argued for years. Crackdowns on quality of life crimes are not necessary for stopping more serious crimes. Mopsey announced on Friday that she would be making permanent the decision to stop prosecuting low-level crimes, arguing that Baltimore has shown a potential path for criminal justice reform. At her press conference, Mopsey said in the past 12 months since police stopped prosecuting low-level offenses, violent crime dropped by 20%, and property crime declined 36%. Homicide rate remained steady, though there were slightly fewer in 2020. Mopsey also said researchers at Johns Hopkins University also found reductions in police calls regarding drugs and prostitution. Well, yeah, because everyone was locked inside their houses. I don't think. Look, I think it's dumb what they're doing. Making it. They're not going to prosecute you for drug possession or prostitution. And this is the decline of a moral society where they start seeing things like this as, well, it's not that bad. You just do it. Just do it. We don't care. And this is the moral decay, you could say, of society. Is where this is low level stuff, but look, it's starting to say drug possession, whatever, prostitution, okay, killing babies, it's empowering. Cardi B dancing like a stripper on stage on national TV is also empowering, and it's great. This is the downfall of Western society. Praising stuff like, children's books that are meant to indoctrinate children into their woke ideology is great. Stuff like Dr. Seuss is wrong. Why? Because it doesn't send a woke message. It's all the downfall of America. That's how we see it here. It's little stuff like this where they start, well, I guess it's not that bad. We'll stop prosecuting it. And then it'll eventually build up, just like, 100 years ago, be like, oh, it's going to be, 100 years is going to be legal to kill babies. You thought that person, hopefully you think that person was crazy, but now, look at us now. We're killing babies, and it's called empowering to women. So Joe Biden finally held his press conference. I believe it was after like 50 days of being in office as president. And he had a couple things to say. He called the filibuster was a Jim Crow era relic, whatnot. He also called Georgia voter laws, also compared it to Jim Crow. And a Fox News reporter, Pierre Ducci, I believe it's how you pronounce it, Ducci, I don't know. I believe it's Ducci. I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but I believe it's Ducci. Asked the great, wonderful Jen Psaki if the filibuster is racist, then why did Joe Biden support the filibuster, just a couple years ago? It's because now they want, I believe it was back in like 2005, was when he was supporting the filibuster. It's because now that they have control, they want to get rid of it. So you can just ram through anything they want. And to get rid of it, they got to make people believe it's racist because they know their base. I mean, I'm going to give it to them. They know their base. They know how to cater to the base. And they know if they tell them, hey, this is racist, they're going to be like, this. The rest of the base is going to be like, this is racist. I mean, now the wanting voters to show voter ID is now considered voter suppression and racist because it's part of it's from the Jim Crow era. It's Jim Crow. It's not racism, but they're making people believe it's racism because they want to get rid of it. Because now it's all a word game to them. Because now if you don't say, well, I don't support, I support people having to show voter ID, well then that means you support racism. It's all a word game. That's all it is. It comes from The Hill. It says Georgia Republican Brian Kemp fires back at Biden. Nothing Jim Crow about Georgia law. It says Georgia Governor Brian Kemp on Friday pushed back on President Biden's statement, calling a new voting law Jim Crow in the 21st century, arguing it is obvious that neither the president nor his handlers have actually read the bill. Kemp, in a statement shared with The Hill, said the legislation he signed into law Thursday expands voting access, streamlines vote counting procedures, and ensures election integrity. There's nothing Jim Crow about requiring a photo or state-issued ID to vote by absentee ballot. Every Georgia voter must already do so when voting in person. He went on to say President Biden, the left, and the national media are determined to destroy the sanctity and security of the ballot box. It's obvious that neither President Biden nor his handlers have actually read this new law. And this is exactly this is what I'm talking about. There's nothing racist about saying, hey, you should show an ID to be able to vote. There's nothing racist about that. But the Democrats know, like I said, give them props. They know their base. They know their party. If they tell their party this is racist, the party will say that's racist, and they'll want to get rid of it, no matter what it is. As Kemp served as Secretary of State before he was elected governor in 2018 after a race against Stacey Abrams, who was sought to advance voting rights in Georgia since her loss as Republican. As Secretary of State, I constantly led the fight to protect Georgia elections against power-hungry, partisan activists, Kemp said in the statement. As governor, I won't back down from keeping Georgia elections secure, accessible, and fair. The Democrats always complain that, they want to make voting. They say the Republicans are making voting harder, which, I mean, I don't think they really are. They're just they want to, make sure they can say that the election is more secure. But I wouldn't be against making voting a little harder because I don't think it should be super easy. I mean, voting's pretty important. I don't think you should be able to walk in and say, "Oh, I'm able to vote," and then, well, they can't question it. So you just be able to vote, even if you're not an American citizen, if you're not 18 years old, even if you don't meet the requirements to vote. And that's what I believe what was the bill? I believe is HR 1. I might be wrong, but I believe that was the bill that the Democrats were looking to pass, which would stop. It would allow like 16-year-olds to vote. I believe you couldn't. They didn't have to show ID. They just had to say, oh, I'm able to vote, and then sign a paper or something like that, and then they would be able to vote. Like, it's just dumb stuff. But the Democrats want this because they want illegal aliens to vote. They want people without IDs to vote because they know they'll most likely vote Democrat. Again, it's not about keeping America, the election integrity. It's not about any of that. It's about getting the vote for them. It's not about making they want elections to be easier, but not. It's not really easier to vote. It's easier to rig, you could say. I'm not saying they rigged the 2020 election. I can't say that on YouTube. I'm just saying it'll be easier for them to rig in the future. The rapper Lil Nas X comes out with a brand of Satan shoes, and it will contain drop of human blood. I mean, like we've always known there was there's stuff like Hollywood and all these other big like the music industry. It's not that good. It's probably satanic. But now they're just coming out and just they're basically saying yeah it is. We don't care. And here's the box. I believe it is for the shoes. Isn't that just a pair of shoes you're gonna buy? Satan shoes with human blood in them. I believe it's little thing in like the heel where it's like a see-through thing and there's like a thing there's like drops of blood. Like I don't even know how they got human blood. I don't know how they're able to sell human blood, and I don't know who will buy this. I mean, you gotta be pretty messed up to buy this. It says someone sold their soul to the devil. Soul spelled SOLE. Ah, so funny. On the heels of his controversial Montero "Call Me by Your Name" music video, Lil Nas X is doubling down on the demonic imagery with his new Nike release, Satan shoes. That's what they're called. Classic Air Max 97s have been revamped by collaborators MSCHF with the underworld in mind. Coming in a limited edition stocks of 666 pairs, each individual numbered 666 in red embroidery. The kicks will also contain 66 cc's of red ink, as well as 1 drop of human blood. Again, where they got the human blood, don't know, and I think I'm not sure if I want to know where they got human blood to put in shoes. A Bible scripture, Luke chapter 10, verse 18, is also emblazoned on the side. The passage references Satan's banishment from heaven. There are also upside-down crosses and a pentagram attached to the shoelaces, as well as printed on its sole. Like, how demonic can you get? MSCHF also designed a comparable Jesus shoe featuring the Son of God upon a crucifix back in 2019. Well, I mean, that makes it all better. Lil Nas X's latest song and visual is said to be inspired the latest shoe design. The video for Montero featured the 21-year-old descending into hell via a stripper pole, where he proceeds to show Satan his best moves. Like, just how much of a degenerate can you get? Like, how disgusting. I mean, how satanic. I just don't understand it. But again, they'll tell you they're not coming after kids. But he even says himself, his main audience are children. He's pushing this towards children. But again, they'll tell you they're not coming after your kids. It's exactly what they're doing. And this is just another example. And they'll play it off as, it's just a funny little, just a cool little design of a shoe with 666 all over and pentagrams and upside down crosses. Oh, it's satanic. And it's disgusting. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing Biden and the Democrats. How they're coming after your guns. They're coming after the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment and the Constitution. They just don't matter anymore. We're in 2021. They don't matter anymore, guys. They're so outdated. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
While we're still waiting for more information regarding the shooter, his motive, the weapons he used, the guns, the magazines, the weapons, the modifications that apparently have taken place to those weapons that are involved here, I don't need to wait another minute, let alone an hour, to take common sense steps that will save the lives in the future and to urge my colleagues in the House and Senate to act. We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. I got that done when I was a senator. It passed. It was law for the longest time. And it brought down these mass killings. We should do it again. We can close the loopholes in our background check system, including the Charleston loophole. That's one of the best tools we have right now to prevent gun violence. The Senate should immediately pass, let me say it again, the United States Senate, I hope some are listening, should immediately pass the 2 House-passed bills that close loopholes in the background check system. These are bills that receive votes of both Republicans and Democrats in the House. This is not and should not be a partisan issue. This is an American issue. It will save lives, American lives, and we have to act. We should also ban assault weapons in the process. I'll have much more to say as we learn more, but I wanted to be clear. Those poor folks who died left behind families that leaves a big hole in their hearts.
So, that clip that you just saw was from a couple days ago after the Colorado shooting. Now, you most likely already know that there is a shooter, a tragic mass shooting that I believe killed 10 people, including an police officer. And of course, right afterwards, the media the Democrats went crazy. Gun control, gun control. It's all you saw. Media, social media, everywhere. Just gun control. They do it after every big shooting. Because they don't see it as a tragedy, they see it as an opportunity. Another thing, they like to, right after the shooting, when the shooting was happening, and right as we were receiving, information about it, news, and the world started to realize this, a lot of people, blue checkmark libs on Twitter, started making false claims that the shooter was a white Christian terrorist. because it was seen that he was taken into custody. And they're like, well, obviously he's not a black man because, he wouldn't have been taken into custody. He would have been shot on the spot. He must have been a white person and blah, blah. And they started talking about how much whiteness is disgusting. And if you're white, then you're a horrible human being and all this stuff. Well, it turns out the shooter was actually a Muslim and he's from Syria. So he wasn't white and a Christian. But then right after we found that out of a shooter, whose name I won't mention because I don't give, that kind of trash any time on this. I'm not going to say his name. I don't care about that kind of trash. But right after we found out he wasn't white, then all of a sudden you didn't hear anything about it. They didn't. You heard about it, but they didn't mention who he was. You hear his name, maybe. They won't tell you what color he was. But they were big on pushing that out right after we saw it. When he was getting arrested, it must have been white. Must have been white. I heard somewhere he was actually a Syrian from Syria. And actually, right before the show, I wanted to confirm that. So I was researching a little bit. I said, who was the Colorado shooter? And I got some articles kind of talking about him, but they wouldn't mention, his race. Even though if it was a white, the Asian, the white guy who shot up, who killed all those the 6 Asian women and the white women, but we don't talk about the white women. And it was called the Asian hate crime. That guy, they made sure to tell you it was a white guy because it's all about white supremacy. But now that it wasn't a white guy, it doesn't matter. We're not going to talk about that. I finally found it to confirm it, but it was after a little bit. And then they started making claims. Well, he wasn't white, but he had, what was it? I'm trying to think. It was like whiteness stereotypes or whatever, something like that. Where they always try to make white isn't even a race anymore. You thought it was a race or just a color? No, it's not even that anymore. It's a way of life. It's an action. You're expressing whiteness. And they're saying whiteness is disgusting, horrible actions like this. That's whiteness. Because all evil actions are forms of white supremacy to them. Because every white person is a disgusting human being to them. So anyway, of course, the Democrats, not led by Joe Biden, but Joe Biden as you could say, figurehead. He's just the guy they push out there to make all this stuff, to say all this stuff they want. Started calling for gun control like they always do. And interesting thing here, in that clip I played before when we came back from the break, Joe Biden claimed that the 1994 assault weapons ban worked. Well, did it work? We have this. It says this article here claims no, and here's the data. So the 1994, it goes through a couple things. It says the 1994 assault weapons ban attempts to limit the use of guns with military-style features and large ammunition capacities. Subtitle A of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994 imposed a 10-year ban on the manufacture, transfer, and possession of certain semi-automatic firearms designated as assault weapons. The ban is directed at semi-automatic firearms having features that appear useful in military and criminal applications, but unnecessary in shooting sports or self-defense, which includes flash hiders, folding rifle stocks, and threaded barrels for attaching silencers. The law bans 18 models and variations by name, as well as revolving cylinder shotguns. It also has a features test provision banning from other semi-automatics having 2 or more military-style features. In some, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives has identified 118 models and variations that were prohibited by law. So that's what part of the assault weapons ban did. But did this really, bring down violent crimes or whatnot? Well, No. So the 1994 assault weapons ban targeted semi-automatic firearms and magazines that could hold more than 10 rounds of ammunition. The ban also targeted weapons that included features that serve no purpose to a criminal, such as flash hiders, folding stocks, and threaded barrels. No crime data exists which shows that criminals rely on any of these features advantageously while committing crimes with a firearm. In fact, the opposite is true. This 0.003% of silencers are ever used in crimes. To establish whether the ban would be effective, studies have to be conducted about the use of the firearms and magazines the ban targeted for prohibition in the first place. These are the primary findings. The banned gun and magazines were used in up to a quarter of gun crimes prior to the ban. Assault weapons are used in a small fraction of Assault weapons are used in only a small fraction of gun crimes prior to the ban, about 2% according to most studies, and no more than 8%. Large capacity magazines were used in crime much more often than assault weapons and accounted for 14% to 26% of guns used in crime prior to the ban. Assault weapons and other guns equipped with large capacity magazines tend to account for a higher share of guns used in murders of police and mass public shootings, though such instances are very rare. So there's no real. The ban didn't really do much. It seemed to focus on things that the criminals weren't even doing in the first place. But according to them, it worked. It did great. Well, not really, because it didn't really do anything. It didn't do much. But they keep pushing to take away your guns. Because they don't want you to have guns. Because guns are bad. Guns are bad. We don't want you to have guns. The whole purpose of the Second Amendment is to own firearms to protect yourself. That's the whole purpose of the Second Amendment. It's not about hunting, even though hunting is maybe cool, but that's just a little side thing. The main purpose, Second Amendment, is for you to be able to own firearms to defend yourself. Defend yourself from people, like criminals, people breaking into your house, people like that, and to protect yourself from the government. Because is the government going to, come after you when they know you have guns? Are they going to try to take away your rights when you know they have guns? No. That's why the first thing they always got to do is take away the guns. It's the first thing they always do. The only thing protecting your freedom of speech are your guns. Just think about it. What if what's going to stop, if you don't have anything to defend yourself with, what's going to stop them from just taking away your stuff? Seriously, what is going to stop them? And a lot of these Democrats, well, that hasn't happened. Exactly. That's the point. It hasn't happened. Why? Because we have guns. That's the whole point. Is to defend yourself from a tyrannical government. So we see Joe Biden trying to take your guns. This article comes from the Epoch Times. It says White House confirms Biden will sign executive order on gun control. It says President Joe Biden will sign executive orders on gun control in the near future, confirmed White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on Friday. When asked about the prospect of taking executive order, Psaki responded with, "Yes. I can't give you an exact time frame, in part because they have to go through a review process, which is something that we do from here." Psaki told reporters at the White House, which means it's just a long way of saying I'll circle back. On Thursday, during the president's first news conference, he hinted at taking action, but pivoted to his infrastructure agenda items. Earlier this week, Vice President Kamala Harris indicated that Congress should pass gun control legislation, but stopped short of saying Biden would issue an executive order. It's time for Congress to act, the vice president said in an interview with CBS News on Wednesday. It's simply about saying we need reasonable gun safety laws. There's no reason why we should have assault weapons on the street of a civil society. There are weapons of war. They're designed to kill a lot of people quickly, she added. But gun rights organizations such as the NRA and Gun Owners of America have raised red flags about Biden's proposals, arguing they would violate the Constitution's Second Amendment. In an apocalyptic environment where the filibuster has been eradicated, you can expect to see a Democrat Congress ramming through gun bans, gun owner registration, and more, Gun Owners of America said days after Biden's inauguration. Meanwhile, it's possible that courts could overturn any potential executive order. This week, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit ruled that a federal ban on bump stocks handed down by the ATF is likely illegal, ordering that the ban be placed on hold. So Biden's coming for your weapons. He's not hiding. Because guns are super deadly and they kill people. Well, yeah, they kill people. But what kind of people do they kill? Are they used to kill other people? Well, sometimes, but not all the time. Here we have a statistic. It's from 2018, but here's a statistic. Let me try to pull it up on the screen here. Okay. 61% of deaths from firearms, this was back in 2018 though, 61% were suicides, not homicides. Only 35% were homicides. So the majority of gun deaths are someone using a gun to kill themselves. So it looks like maybe they should worry about, doing stuff, maybe pushing stuff for help people with mental illness like depression. Maybe you should be focusing more on that instead of focusing on taking away my right as an American citizen to own a firearm. But that's not what they're focused on. Because it's not about protecting people. It says overall, since 2006, firearm homicides in the U.S. have decreased. The number of firearm suicides has increased by a similar amount. The rate of firearm suicide in the U.S. increased from 2018 to 2017 to 2018, while the rate of firearm homicide decreased. The last 12 years, firearm suicide rates have steadily increased 7.3 for every 100,000 population to 7.5 for every 100,000 in 2018. Even when the firearm homicide rates were at the highest in the mid 1990s, they were not higher than those for firearm suicide. Firearm homicide and suicide rates have varied demographically and geographically. So obviously, the majority of gun deaths aren't someone killing someone else; it's someone killing themselves. But they're not worried about that. Because it's not about protecting people. It's about taking your guns. That's what it's all about. It's exactly what it's all about. Because if they were really worried about saving people's lives, then they would actually maybe consider keeping guns around. Because the numbers for defensive gun uses each year is controversial, but one study ordered by the CDC and conducted by the National Academies Institute for Medicine and National Research Council reported that defensive use of guns by crime victims is a common occurrence. Almost all national survey estimates indicate that defensive gun use by victims are at least as common as offensive gun use by criminals, with estimates of annual uses ranging from about 500,000 to more than 3 million. Context, about 300,000 violent crimes involving firearms 2008. And let me pull this up here. Guns prevent an estimated 2.5 million crimes a year. Every year, 400,000 life-threatening violent crimes are prevented using firearms. 60% of convicted felons admitted that they avoided committing crimes when they knew the victim was armed. 40% of convicted felons admitted that they avoided committing crimes when they thought the victim might be armed. Felons report that they avoid entering houses where people are at home because they fear being shot. Fewer than 1% of firearms are used in the commission of a crime. So, if anything, guns really save lives. They stop crimes on a lot higher scale than they save a lot more lives than lost. But it's not. They don't look at the statistics. It's not about the statistics. It's all about taking away your guns. That's all it's about. It's a good little thing right here. It says, I want to stop drunk drivers from killing sober drivers, ban sober drivers from driving. That's how gun control works. This is exactly right. Gun control is not stopping criminals from getting guns. They'll still get them illegally if they have to. All it's doing is stopping legal people, everyday people, from obtaining firearms. I mean, the Second Amendment is very clear. I mean, I don't think there's nothing really, like we don't understand about the Second Amendment. It's a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Exactly what it is. That's all it says. A well-regulated militia, an organized military, which we have to protect the country, being necessary for the security of a free state. That's the military. Comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's what it says. But like I said, the Constitution, the Second Amendment, means nothing anymore. It means nothing. And that's why they play word games on this as well. It's just common sense gun control. Is it really common sense? It seems it's more like your ideas. They pass it as common sense. Because it's, like I said earlier, it's all about wordplay. It's about pulling those people in, who might not know really anything about this issue, but they're going to side with the common sense people because they seem to know what they're talking about, just talking common sense and whatnot. It's not common sense, but Joe Biden likes to play his games where it's, this isn't just, shouldn't be a political issue. This is an American issue. Yes, it's an American issue when you try to take people's guns away. It's unconstitutional. It's disgusting, but they expect us to have trust in the government or something. How am I supposed to trust the government when they're trying to take my guns? How? I don't have any faith. I mean, not that I have so much faith in the government to begin with, but they want us to have faith in the government. Why should I have faith in the government? They haven't given me anything to, give them faith on. Especially when they're trying to take guns away. But they'll play it off as, it's just common sense. We want to save lives. Again, if you wanted to save lives, you wouldn't be taking guns away from people. You wouldn't be looking for gun control. You should put more time in on suicide prevention. Because 61% of all gun deaths are from, at least from 2018, was from suicide. More than half gun deaths were from suicide, not homicide. People killing themselves. So why don't you put stuff in, instead put more time helping people with mental illnesses and in suicide prevention, like mental illnesses like depression and whatnot. Why don't you put more time into that instead of trying to take guns away? Anyway, that's all we have for tonight. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. It really helps support this channel. You can check my main channel and my Rumble. Link in the description below. Remember, videos coming out Monday and Tuesday, and then after that, we won't be back, I believe, until the April 5th, I believe it is. Yes, April 5th. Easter Monday. We'll be back after Easter. So videos Monday and Tuesday. Then the rest of the week will be off. Next video will come up April 5th. You can follow me on social media. You can follow Joe the SJW on social media. I left the link in the description below. I think that's about it. And just keep calm and enjoy life, but never be afraid to fight for your rights, especially your Second Amendment. I'm Big Nick. This is the Big Nick Show.